Welcome to the Post Shift Podcast, your raw look at the hospitality industry, brought to you by SHC. What is happening, Post Shifters? Welcome back to another episode of the Post Shift Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Shawn Soole. Today is a throwback to a really young episode, but I really wanted to bring it up because I've been harping on upselling and per head spend. Upselling and per spend is more important than ever before, and I believe that while we're all a little bit quieter, especially here in BC with these new things, we really should be focusing on training and education as much as possible, whether that be online training or getting your staff just tasting stuff during shift and really getting them involved, because I think that while our cover count has decreased dramatically, including myself at Clive's, our per head spend should still be strong. And so this is a time that we should be trying to milk and squeeze every single little cent out of every guest that we have come in. So I think this is a really good episode for that. I hope you really enjoy it. Thanks as always, guys. I'll chat to you soon. Bye. So this one it's sort of a Q&A slash episode. I had a good friend of mine who owns Cold Room and El Pequeño, among other things, in Montreal, Kevin Demers, reach out to me and ask about upselling. And this is a pretty common industry one, and it's also hard to really teach because at the end of the day, teaching upselling is something that's based in something different. And I'll explain that by, to have a true upselling experience, you need to have the knowledge. And so for me, my baseline is teaching people about spirits, wine, beer, everything. Before necessarily the service aspect of selling those things. Service in the way of like napkin down. How are you today, sir, madam? Good to see you. How's your evening been? Who, what, why, where, how is not really what we're talking about per se when it comes to upselling. Should be second nature, common knowledge for you as a bartender, as a server. The who, like I am Shawn. I'll be your server, bartender tonight. The why. What brings you to town today? Which is a big one that I don't get asked enough when I sit at bars by myself in many cities at really high-end cocktail bars. What brings you to Toronto? What brings you to Montreal? What brings you to San Antonio? That's the what and the why. The how. How did you get down here? Did you fly? Did you take a cruise ship? So on and so forth. Learn little blips about their day. That's before we talk about upselling. The who, what, where, how, why is something that everybody bartender should really use a lot more often. But talking about upselling is based out of knowledge. So hopefully when a guest sits to your bar, they ask something off the menu or a recommendation. So once you've made that drink and you put it down in front of them, whether it be beer, cocktail, wine, whatever, you should automatically be thinking about what they're going to have for their second drink. And the second drink, in my opinion, shouldn't be what they just had. What they just had might be fantastic, but as a bartender, even if they do decide to have the exact same thing again, the bartender should be ready to make a recommendation. So if they have a Pinot Noir off the menu, do you have a second one, or do you have something that's in the medium range body? Medium bodied range. Sorry about that. I'm not going to edit that out because this is on video as well. So you should always be thinking of the next thing. If it's a whiskey, what's the next whiskey up? If they say they like Irish and they're having an Irish neat or Redbreast 12 neat, is there another Irish whiskey you have on the back bar that they should try? Or is there a lowland Scotch that they should try? Or a light Canadian rye that they should try? There's a whole myriad of things that should be things. So for me in upselling, the big thing that I try and do is I try and have it as a flowchart in my head, and every spirit has a flowchart after it. So not necessarily every category, but every brand and every expression of a spirit, a wine, a beer, whatever, has something afterward. Now, for price point, I don't even chase the price point. If it is a little bit more expensive, 50 cents, $1 more expensive per ounce, great. For me, it has to be about what the customer wants as an experience. If they like Woodford, there's plenty of expressions out there of Woodford Reserve that has that are different expressions that they should try. Maybe they're a little bit more expensive, but you should tell them that they should try this and go from there. Someone who's just drinking a house bourbon on the rocks, give them a try of Maker's Mark. And so for upselling, it's all about that flow chart in your head where you start with a certain brand, a certain expression, and then it sort of flows down from there. And then the next one they do is a different flow chart. And I think when it comes to upselling, it has to be an instinctive secondary thing. And it should be as exciting for you to push something onto a guest that they may have never tried, as it is for them to try it. And I think that's where upselling is the key, is like, it's experience can be great chatter and great talk and a great drink, but that little bit of expression of like pushing that next envelope, pushing that next level, and they may find their next favorite thing. And it doesn't need to come down to how much it costs. It doesn't need to come down to how much you're going to get tipped. It should come down to the customer's experience and what they really want. Like if you ask them, what do they like? Brown, bitter, sweet, so on and so forth. Make it off the cuff that showcases that. But upselling is something that should be instinctive. It's really hard to train because it is an intangible element, if you will. And so upselling is all about that flowchart in your head, knowing each spirit, knowing each wine, knowing them all indubitably, and then knowing the stories behind them. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, the customer, when they do that second one as a recommendation, is going to want to hear the story. They may not want to hear a story when they order their favorite thing off the back bar. Not everybody wants to hear the history of a cocktail. Read your clientele. If they seem interested and intent on what you're doing, if they're looking at the menu or looking at their phones or talking to a guest, they don't want to hear the history of a cocktail or the story behind a wine. They just order that wine out of the menu because that's what they want. The next one they do, that's the experience giver that you can actually give them. So that was a quick little blip on a upselling. I'm hoping Kevin listens to this. I'm not sure if he even listens to my podcast. One of my best friends, I still don't know if he listens to my podcast. So Kevin, if you're listening, I hope that helped a little bit. There'll be a video up, so maybe you can just show your staff all this video. I'll try and put this down on paper so that we can sort of work on something to use as a training element. But I hope you're enjoying Post Shift Shots. I hope you're enjoying the Post Shift podcast as a whole. Again, thank you so much for the support. I'm into my second month here. To be honest, it's not easy keeping up with the post-production, and thanks for listening, Post Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.